Good morning. My name is Dan. I'm from Alte Exteriors. We are out here in Morris County, New Jersey. We are installing a standing seam curved metal roof system for a great homeowner here locally. We are going to be fabricating all new copper barrel roofs for the homeowner. Nice copper accents. The existing roofs, as you can see, they are what's called like a flat seam copper. All the seams are soldered together. Everything lays as flat as possible. What we're going to be installing is called a standing seam system where there will be no exposed fasteners and everything will curve right over that barrel perfectly. Something to take note of here are the exposed nails along the outside edge of the roof here. You can see that they're broken through the solder a little bit. They're rusted. They have some water staining, and you really want to avoid having anything like that on your roof. It's just a potential leak that isn't really needed. You'll see here we want to take a look at the underside of the roof. What they used here is felt paper, classic product. It's been around forever, works great, no issues with it at all. Everything seems to be intact as it should be for its age. Real minor staining here, but nothing to really be alarmed about. Nothing's rotted. Everything seems to be really tight underneath here, and yeah, looks good. Just looking over the two barrel roofs in the front of the house again, take note of the flared copper near the ladder edge there. You see how it's kind of bent up. It's real easy to take off. This panel almost came off by hand because they're only attached a little bit around the edge. Taking a closer look at this barrel where the copper is completely removed, you can see the ripples in the plywood. It's not doing too good. I mean, it's pretty much completely rotted over there. Not necessarily from water damage, but more from dry rot. To combat that issue, we're going to be installing what's called high temperature ice and water shield, and that will be able to withstand the heat underneath the copper during the hot summer days. It could get pretty hot under there, and that's why we use the specialty products for these specialty roofs to ensure that they're going to last a lifetime like they should. The solution today, not really a big deal. We are going to replace all the sheathing on the first dormer there, make sure it's all shored up before we install our roof system. And that's something you always want to make sure of as well, that the substrate you're attaching your roof to is as good as the roof that you're using. Otherwise, it will never last the full life. Getting a much closer look here for you guys so you can take a nice close look at the plywood or the sheathing here. What they actually used is 2 layers of 3/8 plywood, which is a great solution to the rounded dormer. Most roofs are typically installed with 1/2 inch or 3/4 inch plywood. With the 1/2 inch or 3/4 inch, when you try to bend that over the top of this barrel, it would end up giving you like rigid lines going left to right, which would also transfer through the copper panels, and it really wouldn't look great at all. This is a great solution to the rounded dormer. We got the guys here. They're working on the installation of the panel or fabrication of the panel. They're using what's called, we have either a shrinker or a stretcher, and that is to crimp the metal in a certain way to either be able to stretch the copper so it can go on an outside curve or shrink it so we can go on an inside curve and keep a nice, smooth, clean panel. You'll see some installs here coming up next. There's a couple things going on in this clip here. One I want you to take note of is the high temperature ice and water shield. See how that membrane covers the entire roof. It also goes up underneath the shingle roof, which creates a complete seal for the new roof system that we're installing. This part here is the install of the first standing seam panel. As you can see, he's locking that in over top of the drip edge that we have made. Take note, the drip edge is a little bit bigger than normal. That was actually a request from the homeowner, which we obviously were able to do. I think it looks great as well. But you see that first panel locks seamlessly with no exposed fasteners right over that drip edge, which gives you a really solid, strong panel there with no exposed fasteners. The second standing seam panel is starting to be installed now. From the stretcher that we're using, it actually crimps that seam a little bit too tight to be able to lock it over the first panel seam that's standing upright. So we're loosening that now for the installation. Here's an example of the finished product. You see the flashing for the panels are up underneath the ice shield. Each panel is locked together seamlessly, crimped tightly, and really it looks perfect. We really appreciate you guys watching the video today on the copper standing seam curved roof installation. If you ever need any roofing work or just some advice, feel free to give us a call, 908-526-2111.